Hello, welcome to the Skate Podcast. This is a status report. We're going to be talking about a few things that are going on in the world of movies right now, some news. We just recorded one that was supposed to include this stuff, but once we start talking about Star Trek, you can't stop. So we're going to get to the rest of it now. The first thing on our agenda is Alien. I went and saw Alien. You haven't seen it yet, right, Josh?
I have not, Brandon.
All right. I don't know what other people are saying about it. I haven't watched any reviews. I haven't heard anybody else's opinions on it yet. And I actually kind of stayed away from a lot of the trailers and all the rumors and stuff about it. And I went to go see it. I saw it on Thursday night. I had a buddy that was really excited to go see it. He loves the Alien franchise, and he should, because it's great, especially those first two.
Yeah.
I know some people have issues with the third one and maybe even the fourth one. I actually haven't seen the fourth one yet. I've seen the first three. I went to go see this on opening night, and I wasn't sure what to expect, really. The only thing I was really interested in, other than hopefully it's a good movie, was Danny McBride's acting, like how he was going to do. Because I know him from a lot of goofy stuff, like Eastbound and Down and Vice Principals, or, you know, the movies he does with James Franco and Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
He acted very seriously and very competently. He did a good job. He was a pretty good actor in this.
Yeah.
So that was cool. That was cool to see him do that. The story itself, I had some issues with. They actually, one of the plot lines that runs through the movie, and this is spoiler free, by the way, I'm not going to ruin anything. However, one of the plot lines that ran through the movie was like, and I'm almost afraid to bring this up because we'll be talking about it forever, but it was 100% exactly the same as a big plot line that runs through one of the Star Trek series with one of the characters. Like, it was to the point where within the first 10 minutes of the movie, I already knew what was going to happen.
I bet you I could guess what you're talking about, even though I've not seen it, haven't read or watched or anything. I bet you I can guess what you're talking about.
You probably could guess. We'll probably save that for after this is done recording.
Okay, remind me.
But yeah, it was shocking to me how much it was the same as the Star Trek thing. There were some other things that kind of reminded me of Star Trek, and that was kind of a compliment, like the way that the crew was set up. Like, they had a captain and, you know, a second in command. I guess it's not that unusual, but, you know, being in space with the ranks and all that, that's the first thing I'm going to think of. So that was kind of neat. One of the things that was unfortunate about those characters, there were about 10 of them or so. That the story was revolving around, and really only 5 of them were like the focus of the story. But this crew is supposed to be trained. They mentioned it, that they've trained for this mission. The mission is to take all these settlers to a new planet. Basically, they're going to try and terraform and populate a new planet. They get down there, and just like anytime something happens, they immediately go into panic mode and do the exact opposite thing that they're supposed to do. Like, me being just a nobody who's not trained in anything, I know that you're doing the wrong thing when you're doing it on this movie. And they just go right in full head of steam right into the bad decision. And I just couldn't believe how stupid they were in this movie.
Well, like, I remember in Prometheus, didn't the map guy get lost? He was the one that got lost.
Okay, I haven't seen Prometheus since it came out in theaters.
Oh, okay.
I did see it. It's just I can't remember it too much.
Yeah, the guy that, like, basically he was the guy. He, like, had those, like, orbs or whatever, those balls, and they, like, floated around. They mapped out the whole thing. He was the one that got lost in the ship, which is kind of funny.
That was supposed to navigate them through and map everything.
Yeah.
It was a lot of that. They're just like this isn't a spoiler, but this is something that happens in the movie. There's one person that's like looking for biological life inside of like this pond and stuff. So like, obviously she's aware of germs and viruses and all that stuff, and that's what she's checking for. She's taking samples of the water. One guy starts to have some health issues, and instead of like, okay, let's find out what's going on, let's not get too close, let's avoid some contact with this guy, she's like, nah, just go bleed all over the ship. She takes them to the worst place possible. Instead of any type of quarantine, it's like, let's expose everybody to everything. We don't know what's going on. Why could it possibly hurt us? So yeah, it was there were a lot of those types of decisions, and it just drove me nuts. One of the questions I had going into this was, is it more tied into Prometheus, or is it more of an Alien prequel? And it turned out to be pretty heavy with the Prometheus. It was, I would say it's a sequel to Prometheus more than a prequel to Alien, but it definitely had both. It felt more like an Alien film than a Prometheus film. It just dealt with Prometheus a lot.
Did you like the movie Prometheus? I know you said you can barely remember it, but Did you remember liking it?
Right now, but I remember never actually making a decision on it, whether I liked it or not.
Okay.
I remember thinking I was excited to see a sequel, so that way we can get like some answers to the things that were happening in it. And this doesn't really provide answers to the things that happen in Prometheus. If you're looking for that, don't expect it.
Is there any secret scenes or media stinger or whatever they call it?
I didn't even stick around because I figured there probably wasn't.
Okay.
There's a website, I'm sure, where you can look up to find out if there is, but like I had to pee. So it was time to get out of there.
Yeah.
The movie, like, it had its good parts too. Like the special effects for the most part were really good. The CG wasn't too bad. There are some parts where it wasn't the greatest, but like for the most part, it was not great, but good. The visuals were really nice. Like the planet that they go to, all the scenery was just beautiful. I don't know where they filmed it, but wherever they shot it just looked great. It looked like an alien world, but it also looked like somewhere where you could go and be. Like it didn't look totally weird, but it looked like a mixture of like
untouched by man.
Yeah, like a rainforest and a mountainy area combined. It was pretty cool looking. So wherever they filmed it, they found a great spot. And that's something that I appreciate too, is they weren't just on a green screen. They were actually on a location somewhere. The ship looked great. It looked like a real ship. Like it had depth to it. It didn't look like there was just like one set with like the captain's chair and then the rest of it was CG or whatever. The acting was really good. Although, some of the parts, like we've seen it before, like the heroic female lead, we've seen that in basically every Alien movie already. But the actress did a really good job. I forget her name off the top of my head. So yeah, it had its moments. I think when I was talking about it to somebody else, I said that I would give it probably a 6 out of 10 right now.
Okay.
So yeah, that was my experience with Alien.
Okay. Very good. And you also have a review of that on your channel. Movie Film Presents.
Yeah,
but you say about the same stuff, right? I mean, it's because that was also a non-spoiler review.
Basically the same stuff on my channel. Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel where it's kind of like a related channel to the podcast. I don't necessarily do the stuff that we do on the podcast. I'm kind of like doing my own thing, but I have people from the podcast guest host with me sometimes. And it's more of just movie reviews, like a short review on a movie with video clips. So if anybody want to check that out, we'll put a link to it.
Yep.
The next thing that we were going to talk about is the Dark Crystal.
Yes.
Netflix has announced that they are making a prequel series based on the Dark Crystal that will take place in the same world.
It's probably the hardest thing that I've ever worked on. I think of it as sort of a work of art. It's something hundreds of people created. It's a wonderful texture and depth to this world. It was the most work, it was the most difficult, but it was the most fun, it was the most rewarding. And of all projects, it's the one that I'm the most proud of.
Well, unfortunately, the Labyrinth I grew up on, the Dark Crystal, I've never actually seen completely. I've seen some of it, but I don't know why. For some reason, I never finished it. It's always been one of those that I've had on my list, but somehow I never got around to it. And then when I finally got around to it, didn't finish it. But I am interested. I'd like to see.
Yeah, I'm almost the opposite with it. Like I had the Dark Crystal as a kid and I watched it over and over again. And Labyrinth wasn't something that I was into or knew of until later. I have seen all of Labyrinth, but maybe like twice, where I've seen the Dark Crystal maybe like 8 times, 10 times.
Okay.
And I just
I know it has like no humans in it at all.
Right. Yeah, the Dark Crystal is early 80s movie by the Jim Henson Company. It was Jim Henson, who was a genius with robotics and puppets. He created some really great stuff. Everybody knows the Muppets. Mm-hmm. But that's not all that Jim Henson did. He had a wide imagination, and it wasn't just, comedy stuff for kids. He put together this amazing fantasy world. A lot of the puppets look really great in it. The special effects are pretty cool, especially for the time. Like he could just do some crazy things. Even if you watched old Muppet shows, there were things that you would watch that and you'd be like, how is he doing that? It was really cool. It was kind of a darker story. It came out before Labyrinth. Mm-hmm. One of the slight criticisms on it was maybe it was too dark.
Okay.
But I remember watching it as a kid, and definitely there were some creepy, scary parts for a kid, but it wasn't bad. Like, it didn't scar me for life or anything. Yeah, it's a great movie. We'll probably cover it on the podcast somewhere down the road.
Yeah, Uncle Paul did that for us.
One of the things that what?
I was trying. It was a lame attempt at humor. You said it didn't scar me for life. I said, yeah, Uncle Paul did that.
Oh, well, we'll save that for the podcast too. Later on down the road, we'll discuss your Uncle Paul. Yeah, one of the things that's cool about Netflix doing this is, one, it's a great idea. Like, let's explore this world a little more. A prequel for this world would be amazing, as long as they do it the right way. And when I watched the trailer, it looks like they are doing it the right way. I saw a lot of the concept art looked like art from the movie, and you could see, like, as they're talking about, like, they have clips of Jim Henson himself talking about, like, how much he loves this world and how much fun it was and how he's been proud of this movie for a long time. It's one of his greatest achievements. And as he's speaking of these things, you get to see them putting together puppets and robots. And at the end, you even get a short clip of one of the new robots, one of the new puppets in action. So it looks like they're doing it all practical, which is amazing. I love it. And I'm pretty excited to see it. Unfortunately, there is no release date as of yet.
Okay.
The video just says coming soon.
Yeah.
I imagine if they had a fully working puppet, then they've got to be a good chunk of the way through production.
We could only hope. I'm not sure. But yeah, I definitely want to get around to watching that first movie. Even if they weren't doing this prequel series, it's something I should have just watched. I don't know what's wrong with me. Wow, a lot of things.
Yeah,
there's the voices in my head. There's the Tremors. There's Tremors forgetting who I am. Too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're wrapped up here on this Escape podcast.
Urge to Kill. The kidnapping of dogs.
Somebody help me. He's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing that we were going to talk about is Venom. It was announced that Sony is going ahead with a solo Venom movie, and they're looking to cast, or I guess they have cast, I was going to say Tom Brady. I'm sorry, Tom Hardy as Venom, which I think is probably a good choice. He'll be playing Eddie Brock as Venom.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I never got really into Venom myself, but that's cool. I don't know. I really don't have much to say on that one.
Well, he's a good actor. Some of you might.
Oh, yeah. I have nothing against him.
He was Shinzon in Star Trek Nemesis. He played Ames in Inception. Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, Max in Mad Max Fury Road, John Fitzgerald in The Revenant. Yeah, he's a great actor. Like, he's one of those actors where you can see him in a bunch of stuff and not realize that it's the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's big too. Like, he works out. So he should make a pretty good Eddie Brock, I think. He's going to be joining a list of people that have been in more than one superhero movie for both DC and Marvel, including Ryan Reynolds.
So you got Ryan Reynolds. Hold on. What's the guy who played Cyclops?
Yeah, he was in one of the Superman movies. Matt something?
Halle Berry was in both. Ben Affleck was in both. Yeah, there's a few.
Soon to be, he's playing Thanos, and he's supposed to be Cable.
Who is? Tom Hardy's going to be
edit here. No, not
I was going to say Josh Brolin is.
Yes, Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin is going to.
Is it Thanos or Thanos? I've heard it both ways.
I say Thanos.
I've heard both, though. I don't know which one's technically right.
That's probably the way I say it. That's what I assume.
Yeah.
So, Josh Brolin, he's Thanos in the Marvel movies, and he's scheduled to be Cable in the next Deadpool movie. So, Sony, I don't know. I've heard that the Venom movie might not be related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I don't see how that's possible.
If this new Spider-Man is, because you're assuming he's technically a Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
And unless they're going to have Andrew Garfield be his, a separate Spider-Man, and then have, whatever this guy's name be a different Spider-Man for Marvel, which I don't think that's going to happen, but...
Yeah, I read in one place where they said it's not going to be tied into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I don't see how it can't be part of it. because Spider-Man is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe now, even though Sony still controls it. But Marvel is overseeing everything that they do with the Marvel characters now, or at least the Spider-Man characters. I don't know. I'm not sure how that's working out. I imagine that it is going to be part, but I did hear also that they're trying to go for a rated R movie. And I'm pretty sure Disney wouldn't be happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, but then they also did that like with Quicksilver, right? Where there was the Marvel version of Quicksilver, there was the Fox version of Quicksilver.
Yeah, but Fox and Marvel don't have a deal, so it's
no. But I'm saying like they could do something that's totally separate, but I think that would be silly to do that, especially now they finally got Spider-Man to be a
that
part
would just
of it.
Make like it's so confusing now already for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It would just make everything even worse.
Yeah.
They also said that it would be directed by Ruben Fleischer. I think that's how you say his last name. His name didn't sound too familiar, so I looked him up, and his most famous movie that he's done, and it's only a handful of movies, is Zombieland from 2009. Other than that, you have 30 Minutes or Less from 2011, and I believe that was an action movie about a pizza delivery dude.
That kind of sounds somewhat familiar, actually.
I think I had Justin Long in it. And he was like a pizza guy that had to do something. I can't remember, but it looked, the concept seemed so ridiculous that it seemed interesting.
Yeah.
Other stuff that he's directed is Gangster Squad from 2013.
Oh yeah, that did terrible.
Oh, did it?
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
I don't really remember. It was
that has Josh Brolin in it. Movie? What's that?
Was it kind of like a superhero or a comic?
No, I think that it was like a gangster movie. I think it had Josh Brolin in it, and I think it had a few big names in it.
There's another one.
If we're thinking of the right same movie, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there's another one here called Two Night Stand from 2014. Never heard of that. Another one called Unicorn Store from 2017. I don't know if that came out already or not. Never heard of it either. No. And then, after that, he's going to be doing Venom. So he's got 5 movies before Venom. So he's pretty fresh director.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to tie into Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like I was saying, Venom is kind of a classic Spider-Man villain that a lot of people have been looking forward to. Unfortunately, Sam Raimi was forced to use Venom in that 3rd movie, which kind of messed up the whole movie. But I'm thinking hopefully they are able to do him right this time, because while it wasn't horrible in the Sam Raimi movies, it could have been so much better. And a large part of that was because of how much it was rushed, and because of the actor they got to play Eddie Brock. I think the guy from that 70s show.
Topher Grace.
Yeah, Topher Grace is kind of an odd choice. I don't want to say bad choice, just an odd choice.
Because he's so thin and small?
He's like Peter Parker size, and from the comic books and from the cartoons and all that stuff, I always think of Eddie Brock as just this gigantic guy. Like, I actually pictured more like, I can't remember his name either, who played the Sandman from Wings.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember the actor's name, but I pictured like him being more like an Eddie Brock, a big tall guy with some muscles, even though he's a little bit older. That's what I pictured.
Yeah.
So Topher Grace was kind of an odd choice for me.
Yeah.
Did you like that 3rd Spider-Man movie?
No, I didn't. I can't say I did.
That's the popular opinion.
It was. I remember though, it was so bad when it finally got to the dance scene. I actually was laughing. And where most people talk about like, oh man, that movie's so bad, like they have him like dancing and stuff. I was like, honestly, that movie was so bad before that part. That was my favorite part of the movie, because at that point I had already given up on the movie turning it around. So like I just was having fun with that. Now dig on this, I remember, and all that stuff. And he's like doing all these dance. I was just like, whatevs, man.
There were some things going on behind the scenes with that movie that impaired it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I remember like where like there's a giant Sandman, and like he's got Spider-Man like pinned down, Venom has him pinned down, and then like the Sandman's just like slamming on him, and like you think people would be like, oh my goodness, there's this weird sand creature or whatever, this giant monster, and instead of like running away from it, everyone's just gathering around to like watch it. And I remember like the news reporters doing that. Oh, it's just so hard to watch. Like, as like Spider-Man's, getting pummeled, and I'm thinking like, you're not even close enough to tell what's going on specifically. Yeah, it's just one of those things that they do in movies where it's like they have actors or characters say what they want you to feel or think or notice or whatever. They have to have them pointed out. And it was just, I hate that anyway. And then like also the fact that people would be scared to death. They'd be running away from it, not just standing there watching it. And
yeah, that was one of the things like,
and this woman somehow can see it, like what exactly is happening.
I don't think I hated the third one as much as everybody else. In fact, I don't think I minded it. Like, obviously, it wasn't as good as the first one. Definitely not as good as the second one. It was the worst of the three for sure. But it was what it was. I mean, I didn't care. Whatever.
I find it funny that a lot of people consider the second one better than the first one.
That is the general consensus, I think.
And I thought the first one was by far the best, personally.
I'll have to go back. I think I've flip-flopped on that a couple of times. Like, I thought the first one was the best, then I thought the second one, and then, my opinion changes from time to time on those. They're both good. The third one is not good, but I could enjoy it anyway, I think. The second Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man that Sony did, that one, I don't think I hated that one as much as everybody else did, but that was one of the major complaints I had with that one. Is there's so many people just gathered around watching these superheroes and supervillains fight. It's like, get out of there. This guy is shooting electricity at people. Leave.
Yeah. I didn't see it.
Rhino robot, get out. Don't let your kid cross the barrier and get in the way.
Yeah. I didn't see that one, but it didn't look good to me. I just wasn't as invested anyway. I think when I first even heard they were rebooting Spider-Man, I was like, even at that time, I felt like, really, already? And then, I saw the first one, and I thought, it was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. I enjoyed it, but I didn't like go crazy about it. So I really just didn't care enough to see the second one.
Yeah, I could not get into the first one. Like everybody says, the first one was okay. It wasn't bad. And then they hated the second one. I actually liked the second one more, as bad as a movie as it was. Like tonally, it was all over the place. It would switch from a joke to something super serious, back to a joke to something sad. And the villains were kind of cartoony, but I didn't mind it as much because they were moving on with the story. And even though I didn't like the story all that much, it wasn't a retelling of Uncle Ben dying. Like the first one was the first one was basically the same as the first Tobey Maguire movie. There's no reason to watch it. And I couldn't get into it because of that. I've seen this already. I've seen this movie, except you're adding some kind of weird plot with his parents, which I didn't care about.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next Spider-Man movie, and I'm hoping that Venom is good. We'll see. We'll see what Sony has for us. Sony needs to do a lot to earn our trust after stuff like Ghostbusters and those two other Spider-Man movies. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. What's next?
That was it. The release date for that movie is set to be October 5th, 2018. So we'll find out pretty soon. I'm sure trailers will start dropping like towards probably right before summer.
Yeah.
Would be my guess next year. So they've got a year to work on it.
Yeah. So are there any movies really for this year that you're looking forward to?
I think the movie I've been looking forward to the most has been Thor, but I don't think that comes out till November.
I don't recall, but that sounds good enough. I'll go with that.
To me, that one looks the most interesting. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 surprised me a little bit. I wasn't super looking forward to it. I enjoyed the first one, but the second one kind of caught me off guard because I thought it was way better than the first one.
Okay.
And just like as far as like not even just being a good Marvel movie, but being just a good movie in general as well. Okay. I thought was going on with that one. It was pretty good. I think I've given my review, a quick review of that already on the podcast. So if you haven't heard it, go back.
You and Dave did.
Yeah, if you haven't heard it yet,
upcoming episode.
Yeah, I think the Never-Ending Story, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, stay tuned for our Never-Ending Story podcast episode when that comes out. It might already be out by the time you hear this, so check that out. And that's it. I don't really have too much more going on. Is there anything you're looking forward to?
I mean, I'm probably going to see the new Star Wars movie when it comes out. I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm interested, but I'm not like dying to see it. I can't think of anything else.
Okay, well, I think that wraps it up for this status report.
Very well.
All right, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll be back as soon as there's more news.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Probably not.
Help me, he's crazy.